All right, Nick, we're just pulling out of the facility. This was your first visit out here today, and man, my favorite question to ask is just give me your impression of being in that room with these guys, maybe what you were expecting, what you actually felt, because it was an amazing day.
Man, I think the thing that stands out the most is that you can tell immediately. I mean, as soon as you walk in the room, you can tell. And I'll relate this to military, the command and control that Mike has in the room, which is a vital part of the program, because in how it's managed, it shows that the guys have bought in. If 12 of the guys were standing up doing the things they were supposed to do, and there was a guy that was slouched in his chair refusing to participate, immediately it would start to deteriorate.
The room?
Yeah, the entire environment, what's happening in there. But you can tell that they have a way that they're being told, this is how we're going to run this program. These are the things you're going to do, and they've all bought in. Like, they are sold out. They are ready for it. That's pretty impressive, man.
Yeah, Mike's got that interesting combination of military and that discipline. Obviously, his time incarcerated. But there's a lot of respect in that room, right? So tell me your impression of the guys, their questions, their engagement, how they interacted with you.
Man, they were attentive. They were super attentive. So that creates a level of comfort that's immediately disarming.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. Exactly what I would hope for in that situation.
Exactly.
But really, man, like, I love how so many of them you can experience their passion pouring out of them. Like, to start with 3 things they're grateful for in an I am statement. I felt like I knew most of those dudes just from the things they were grateful for and what their I am statement was. I felt immediate connection with so many of them, because I know this. You can tell by the way they're saying it. You can tell by the things they wrote that it's coming out of their heart. So that tells me already that these guys are taking it serious, and they're examining the situation. They're examining themselves, and they are bringing forth out of themselves something that is hopeful. Yeah. That's based in hope, and that's incredible. That's incredible. So, man, they were engaged. They were active. Like, man, it felt so welcoming. Man, it felt so welcoming.
On the way out, we talked about that you're going to experience a freedom in that room that we don't see nearly often enough outside prison fences. Did you feel it?
Yeah, definitely. And it's almost paradoxical, because you can feel that it's structured. You can see on the boards, you can see with the materials that are in the classroom, you can see by the way that they've each got their books open, by the way that they're prepared with certain responses. They're prepared with. You could tell from the structure of it. You could tell from the way the class is being handled that it's structured. But man, isn't that kind of similar to our relationship with God, in terms of who we're called to be and the nature that we're supposed to live in, and the law of Moses, even going that far back, right? That there's a structure to our lives that, as long as we're operating within that structure, then we have the freedom to live our lives to the fullest.
Yeah, and you know what? You saw the statistics, right? We're getting attrition, right? Not everybody stays in this program. Right. We're not at 50%, but we're probably got about 60% of the original class. Yeah. And so there's still, between the two classes, there's still almost 30 guys going through. So big impact. But, as you're saying that, and I mentioned to them, guys, those statistics are the reason why you can have success in the world, because so many people don't follow through, aren't willing to put in the work. But it's the same thing that you're talking about with our relationship with Christ. that you have to choose to do the work. You can't just say, this is what I want. You know, you can't, he's not a, you know, as we've heard before, it's not a genie where you rub the bottle and, you know, magically all the wishes come through. You've got to put in the work. You've got to have a change of heart posture.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, and to highlight that, I'll say, to answer your question, could you you know, witness the freedom in there? Man, if you told me that we're going to put 15 inmates in a room together from all different walks of life, all different races, ethnicities, we're going to put them into a room together, and every day before we start a class, we're going to ask them to write down what's in their heart and then share it with everybody. Dude, those guys shared it loudly and proudly and boldly.
They're part of something.
Man.
Yeah, you see there's Muslims in that class. There's undecideds in that class. There's Christians in that class, right? And yet it's a respectful environment. Mm-hmm. And they listen, and they're vulnerable, you know. And I mean, as you saw today, yes, it's a business class, and yes, we talked about business, but it was one for one with talking about how faith impacts lives, right? And the fact that you were authentic with your stories, right? I could literally sit there and watch them draw in. The more that you shared your testimony, the more vulnerable you were with what you were dealing with, from your military career to your business career to your home life and everything else. They really resonate with that because, one, they've probably been through something similar. Yeah. And two, they need to hear that because, man, when they one day do get that freedom, they're going to find out freedom's hard. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So when you hear me say that, when you hear me say that freedom's hard, what thought comes into your mind when you hear that?
Well, so I was deployed with the Army from 2011, from summer of 2011 to the summer of 2012. And you know, you said it on the way in about what their life is like and how freedom can be a shock to their senses. Yeah. Well, on deployment, you work 7 days a week. You work 12-hour shifts. When you're not at work, you have to get your laundry done. You go to the gym or do some kind of workout. You've got the same meal times every single day. You wear the same uniform every day on deployment in the military. I mean, I hate to compare being in the military to being in prison because it's a difference, but there are so many similarities. Yeah. There's so many similarities. And the military has spent, I mean, research on soldiers coming home from deployment and reintegrating with their families has been multi-million-dollar effort. Yeah. The military recognizes it as a huge problem and I'm talking like marriages not surviving, spousal abuse, drug and alcohol problems, suicide. It is a huge problem, and that's coming home from a military deployment, and it's the exact same thing. You know, you don't have that much freedom because not because you're not free, but because there's nothing to do when you're deployed. Right. There's nothing to do. You got maybe have a USO where you can go and watch movies. Yeah. I mean, movies is a big deal during deployment, but you know, you're constantly in a threatening area. You're not. I mean, life isn't about freedom while you're deployed. It's about structure. It's about the same things at the same time in the same place in the same uniform over and over and over and over again. And so
that's the commonality to prison.
Right. So getting out of that environment, so to what you speak to, you get out of that, and that freedom of now I got to choose what to wear, when to eat. I got to remember to eat. I got to, my work shift is only 8 hours a day now, or 9 hours, and then I got to spend time with my family. And the real problem with integration is, the wife wants this done. She wants to go here. My kid is crying. Like, these are problems you don't have to deal with when you're in the military, but now as a civilian having to deal with those problems, it's a shock to the senses. It's an overload. Yeah. So absolutely, I could be empathetic to the idea of how do you transition from the life these guys are living now to a life outside the walls, and how do you keep yourself true? I mean, all the work they're going to do in the 9 months of this class, 10 months of this class, all the work they're going to do, how do you keep that steam when you're on the outside and life goes back to an open door?
Yeah. You know, and you know, they also come out with no savings, generally debt. You know, they've got things that they owe the state. Their number is a detriment to them. You know, there's a limited amount of places that will employ them, and everything else. But you know, what we find is, you know, like what we're seeing in this is that there is a really good group. The cream will rise to the top. Yeah. You know, like we said, when we started that class with 42 people and we're at 30, right? And we expect that because of the work that's got to be put in, because we're trying to prepare them, because so many business owners are going to be out there waiting to try to help them if these guys have done the work and are employable and are worth putting your name on and everything else. You know, so it's definitely a lot of work, because even if they were free 5 years ago, think of all that's changed in the last 5 years. Yeah. And, you know, and so they're overcoming that. But, you know, one of the things that I also wanted to talk about on this is that, you know, you were a devout atheist for what, 21 years, I think you said, right?
23.
23 years. And over the last 3 years or so, you know, you and your wife both, and it sounds like the kids and everything, your whole household has transitioned. Yeah. And I meant to ask a question in there, but I'm guessing that your household transitioned to the faith in Jesus when you transitioned, right? Right. When that became the father of the household saying, I'm done doing this on my own, there's got to be a better way, and that way is Jesus, which we hear all the time. Yeah. I just wanted you to touch base on how your household transitioned when you did.
So my boys, they're 14 and 16 now. They've been convicted since they were real young because they faced it at school, and some of their friends would tell them about Jesus. I'm talking kindergarten age. Yeah. Their friends would talk about Jesus, and my boys had the difficult task of being like, we don't believe in that. But around that age, my boys couldn't really, they weren't able to say that, and I wouldn't expect them to. I didn't raise my kids atheist. It wasn't something we really talked about. If they asked, I would answer. Yeah. So I remember them coming home and telling us stories like, this kid said he believes in God, and they would argue with those kids sometimes, but sometimes those kids would best them in an argument, and we'd tell them, you don't want to argue about that. That's not something worth losing friends over. Yeah. So it's not. It wasn't like atheism wasn't what's the word I'm trying to look for here? It wasn't a thing in the house so much, but of course my conversations and the things I believe are going to influence them. Sure. So when we started going to church, my boys both said, "Oh, this is something I've been praying for years." Oh wow. Man, they never said it to me. Yeah. In fact, they had gone to church with their grandma and grandpa. Okay. When they stayed with them in Nashville. Yeah. Grandma and grandpa took them to church and asked first. They asked permission, and we were like, sure. And they said when they came home from that trip, and they were young, probably 6 and 8, I think, they said, "Oh, we're Christian now. We believe in God." Because of one Sunday school service. One Sunday school service. Cool. Yeah. So when we started getting back into the church, I didn't want to dive in. I didn't want to like go head first, man. I wanted to dip my toe because so much pride wrapped up in. Because I wasn't just an atheist. I was like a proselytizing atheist. Okay. I wanted to get into the debates. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I wanted to get in debates and talk to people about it and suss people out and man, I could go for days and talk about the merits of my atheism. Yeah. I could talk about the church that I left behind. A lot of times I wonder if I was turning my back on God or turning back on the Christianity I grew up with. Right. So it's a lot to unpack. But I will say that the cornerstone, that's a good word. Yeah, that's a good word. The cornerstone of my atheism was my own pride and arrogance. Okay. And so at that time in my life when my pride and arrogance started running out of fuel and I was brought to my knees to search for something else, I knew God had always been there. And I didn't immediately start calling myself a Christian, but I knew God had always been there. Because if you even start to believe in Christianity, then you understand, or start to believe in the gospel and the God of the Bible, then you know He's the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Yes.
So it was really like coming back. But for that I'd say for the first 8 months to a year, I really dragged my feet a bit, and I cried in praise and worship. The tears would flow because it felt so familiar, and because of the words that we were singing, the words that were being portrayed, the images of Christ and what He's done for us. And I was carrying so much guilt and so much shame over the way my life had gone, especially over that last 5 to 10 years, that I had plenty to give to Christ on the cross. I had plenty to let Him take from me. I had plenty of debt for Him to wash away, right? Yeah. So I would say I was dipping my toe in it. And in the meantime, my kids wanted to go to church camp, and my kids wanted to be at youth group every Wednesday night. And my 14-year-old, he was 11, I think, at the time, he wanted to get baptized. And my daughter wants to get baptized, and she's 9 now. She wanted to get baptized, and my kids were like, "Hey, we want to serve at church."
Wow.
They were leading the charge.
Yeah.
I just had to stay out of the way, and I recognized what was happening. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've been robbing my kids of this for so long. I've been keeping my kids from this for so long that now they're hungry for it. They're craving it. They want to learn Bible verses and stuff." And so, man, I used to just say to my kids, we'd come home from church, or it would just be on my heart. I would say, "Thank you, kids, for being spiritual leaders in our household. God is really, really working in you to lead our household."
What a humble comment.
Dude.
What a humble comment. Now, your wife, for different reasons, was also atheist, right?
Yeah.
And where's she at with her walk?
She is. We're getting in step, man. She
That's
is.
Awesome.
We have different experiences, all of us, and different backgrounds, and we carry different baggage. And so the things that you have to bring to God, the things that you have to bring to Jesus are going to be different for everybody.
Sure.
And so there's no pressure and no condemnation in our house. There's no judgment for that. And she is walking a walk as well.
That's awesome.
But I will say this, the more I pray for her, the more it comes to fruition.
The easier that walk.
She's doing excellent.
There's more lamp on her feet.
There you go.
Right.
That's a good one. There is. And she, at church I think in the last few months, she joined a small group, and it ended up being really small. It was based on a book, and it was something that's been a thorn in her flesh for a long time, and it's saying no, basically dying to the things you're supposed to die to, so that you can live for the things you're supposed to live for. She got involved, and she was diligent about it, and she was committed to it. She didn't miss any classes. She wrote notes. She read all the books that went along with it. She took it serious, and
that's awesome.
Man, it was a 6-week class,
in depth,
and she got so much out of it in that 6 weeks. And it was 1 day a week, and on the 4th week, the host couldn't be there and pulled the group and said, "We can cancel and reschedule it, or one of you can step up and lead." And the group nominated my wife to lead, and so she lead her own small group within. What I'm saying?
Praise.
So yeah, man, it's
that's incredible.
We all running our own race, but dude, she's getting in step, and I love it.
What's crazy is that that God's always present. If you said it once, you said it 50 times today in this class.
Oh yeah.
That He was always present.
He was always present.
I wasn't present with Him, but He was always present with me.
Yeah.
And I watched, because there's one young man in that class that told us in the beginning that, "Hey, I'm not committed one way or the other." And I'd watch his eyes when you were talking, and you could see those eyes of I got to look into this.
Yeah.
The curiosity, and that to me, it's the easiest way to say it is, you could watch those seeds being planted, and I could see that because he's been in this character phase with us for 2 months, those seeds that you planted today were in a more fertile ground than what we've been able to plant those earlier in, because it's that not in your face, not standing on a corner telling everybody you're going to go to hell if you don't believe in Jesus, right? It's not that. It's that quiet, consistent message that are coming from all these amazing leaders like yourself that go out there and talk to these guys. I literally, that was a thought in my head when I was watching, as I could see the seeds, and I knew they were going into a more fertile ground. It was incredible. Man, you go ahead.
I'm really impressed because I haven't seen the curriculum. I would love to dig into the curriculum that these guys are on and the steps, but just knowing that phase 1 is character is incredible to me. I mean, I think if you need to promote or sell the organization to anybody, just telling them, oh, we spend the first 3 months in character only speaks volumes for what this organization is. Because I told stories in there of being in military units and being in corporations and being in small private franchisee companies where the company was not founded on strong character. When the unit doesn't have a leader with character, how chaotic it can be and how fruitless it can be. So the idea that this is all founded on your own character and having to confront your character, that seat in the middle of the class, dude,
the Vernon chair,
come on. Like, man, it really is about a character change before anything else. It really is, and that's powerful. Man. That's so powerful.
I'm looking forward to having you read this book I've been working on, because there's so much of that in there, and but I'm going to have you. You're going to be one of my editors before that thing ever sees the light of day. That's for sure. But man, just thanks. I know those guys. I probably had 3 or 4 of them are like, "How soon is he coming back?"
Oh man!
And I got to tell you that didn't surprise me going out there. I knew who I was taking with me.
Thanks.
So man, we look forward to having you more and more involved with 1440.
Yeah, happy to do it. Man.
All right, awesome.